Hey, what is up, everybody? Merry Christmas. This is JR from Not Weird, Just Autistic. And I'm going to talk to you today about a blog post I just wrote, The Epic Tale of an Autistic Christmas. As you can see, I'm all decked out in my Christmas good stuff. I got Santa Yoda, got the tacky Christmas suit. Don't have a Santa hat, but I figured this woodchuck or beaver or whatever it is on my head would suffice. So with this, I'm going to read you my latest blog post, The Epic Tale of an Autistic Christmas. Want to know what it's like to be one of us? Here you go. First off, let me wish you all, neurodivergent and neurotypical alike, a very Merry Christmas, or whatever it is that you celebrate. The holiday is all about family, friends, gatherings, and good food. I'm a late diagnosed autistic adult, diagnosed 10 years ago at age 46. And the only thing that sounds good to me on that list from above is the good food. And if it's cool with you, I'm just going to drop in, grab a to-go box, and I'll go back home and eat it by myself. Crowds are full of triggers for the large panic attack I know is coming at a holiday gathering. First, it's the sheer number of people in a room, usually 30-ish in my case, and it gets crowded and you begin to feel claustrophobic. Too many random conversations going on, and my autistic brain is trying to focus on each one. I don't want it to do that, but my brain is in control right now. The inside of my head feels like it's heading for critical failure. With that, I take the first of many trips outside to catch my breath and to lessen the sensory overload. For me, that ended 4 years ago when I moved away from family and the sensory overload of Los Angeles to a town of 4,000 in the Missouri Ozarks. Christmas is much different here. It's just me and my service dog, Ty. Each year we watch a couple of movies and just chill. But that can be lonely. I believe that while many people with autism have trouble making and keeping friends, we really do want to have a good friend or two. People we can spend days like this with. But that's not my story this year. Today, it's Scrooged, Christmas vacation, lots of Brian Setzer orchestra Christmas music, homemade tacos, and margaritas to wash it all down. People ask me if I miss California, and I say yes and no. I don't miss having my senses bombarded with traffic lights, noise, crowds. There are things that I do miss, though, and here are a few Christmas-related ones. Surfing the Huntington cliffs in Orange County. Beginning in my teens, I would get up, and around 6:30 or 7, I would meet a couple of friends at the cliffs. I would take out my 10-foot harbor surfboard, down the path to the bottom of the cliffs, and into the water. After a couple hours, we would get back in our cars and head to our favorite dive spot, Harbor House Cafe, for their famous 6-egg omelets loaded with potatoes and toast. That tradition went away in my mid-20s, and a decade later, a new Christmas tradition was born. Pajama breakfast at Crystal and Tony's. Steve was the best man at my wedding and has 3 kids. They're family to me, and I would take a bullet for any of them. Probably not the torso, but I'd still take a bullet. Crystal is Steve's middle child, and her husband is Tony. 15 to 20 people would gather for breakfast and revelry. You're probably thinking, this dude just put himself in a crowded situation. And that's true. But when you realize the group was spread out in the backyard, the garage man cave, the kitchen, and the living room, it's not really crowded as there are only 3 to 4 people per area. Most people wore their pajamas. However, I stayed away from that tradition. You see, I sleep in my boxer briefs, and trust me, no one wants to see all of this shoved in underwear. Biking the beach trail. There's a bike path that starts at Sunset Beach and rolls past Bolsa Chica, the cliffs, Huntington State, Huntington City beaches, and finally ends at the far end of Newport Beach near the Wedge. The Wedge is the hotspot for shortboarders to grind their way across the wave before dropping like a roller coaster down the face of the wave. I would get on my vintage Schwinn beach cruiser and leisurely pedal the nearly 10 miles from one end to the other, grab something to drink, sit on a bench for a while, and make the return trip. I'm sharing these stories with you because there are options. When we get overwhelmed and literally cry, as I did on a couple of occasions, it's because we can't take another Christmas filled with panic attacks and overstimulation. You see, I don't view autism as a disability in the way we normally view disabilities in people who are disabled. And let me give you a Christmas example. Take the large gathering I talked about earlier. They disabled me because the environment isn't made for me to thrive. I am actively being disabled by the environment. Now, take away 20 of those people, making the environment much less crowded and less stimulation hitting my brain. Now, I'm still autistic, but that environment isn't disabling to me. I believe that for the most part, our disability as autistic people comes from being in an environment that disables us. These are my tales of Christmas, along with my viewpoint on autism as a disability. I want to hear your tales of the holiday season. How did you cope? Did you cope? Were you masking? We want to know. Leave your stories in the comments. Well, if you excuse me, I have some carne asada marinating, and those tortillas, salsa, and guacamole won't make themselves. So I tip my margarita glass to all of you and wish you the very best holiday season you can have. Everybody, it's been great spending this few minutes with you on Christmas. I hope you all have an outstanding rest of your day. And I'm going to go now and get this beaver off my head. So I'll see you next time.